we are back. This is the Great Classic Rock Debate. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul with the null set qualifications.
And I'm Steve.
And we talk anything and everything classic rock. We try to keep it
And
interesting.
Steve's cat.
And we try to have fun. If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. Let's get right into it, guys. We have said over and over again that as we get a little older, Paul and I, both in our 60s, Steve, still late 40s, right?
Late 40s, 48.
Okay. Okay. It's just a fact of life that more and more of the rock stars we grew up on are going to pass away. They're getting older. And of course, that lifestyle does not necessarily coincide with
you don't say.
a long life. So in recent months, there's been several. And then this past week, Ozzy Osbourne passed away. And so not that anybody's necessarily shocked by that, because I think he was 76.
Yes.
And definitely lived the rock and roller lifestyle, booze, drugs, women, all of the stuff, and lived that life and embraced it and loved it, I guess. My understanding is, although they did not designate a specific cause of death, that he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's back in 2019, something like that. Yeah. And so it was almost definitely Parkinson's related. Am I getting that right?
I don't know if they've released the cause of death. I haven't seen it, but I'm making that assumption.
Right.
Based upon, we failed to mention our last episode that they had the farewell concert, and he sort of I played the entire set sitting in a chair because of Parkinson's. So I'm assuming it again.
Okay. Steve, how long ago was that?
That was
like
July
2 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
Was that recent?
July 5th. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. I'd heard something about a farewell concert. I just didn't know it was that.
He literally, this shows you how when we get older, we have to have loved ones and goals, because he made it to that concert. That was what he was living for, literally.
Exactly. I mean, it's no coincidence that he died a couple of weeks later.
Just like we talked about, I don't know if we talked about on this show, when Bear Bryant coached his last game, like December the 23rd or whatever it was, his wife died in January and he died in like March. So just job gone, wife gone, he gone.
Right.
So it's like you got to have these things, you got to have family and things to keep you going. And big loss.
Right. Okay. Well, we will cover as much as we can about Ozzy and his legacy tonight. I'd like to just start, if it's okay with you guys, and just sort of do a recap of his emergence on the rock scene and leading all the way up to 1980 when he did his first solo album. Because, I mean, heavy metal, there wasn't like there was a certain date in which they said, hey, let's start playing this new thing and we'll call it heavy metal. It was just a style that was emerging, and artists were hearing it and sort of embracing it, and then sort of jumping along into that sort of thing. And I think we talked before that Deep Purple and Black Sabbath were perhaps two of the very early, And then there were other bands in the 70s that mostly unknown at that time, AC/DC and Judas Priest and whoever else, Iron Maiden probably. They were already in existence, but they didn't become big until the 80s. But I want to just note that as the 70s was progressing and this type of rock was growing in popularity, but it wasn't really until 1980 and then the remainder of that decade that the term and the style of heavy metal exploded. Because when Ozzy recorded his first album in 1980, and it was huge, he had left Black Sabbath, made the decision to go solo.
Well, they fired him.
They got kicked out.
Okay, fair enough. And it became big. It became so big that it just seemed like every other week there was a new band appearing that were a quote unquote metal band who were sort of following in the blueprint that he was laying out there. So I think that it's fair and reasonable to say that he was, if not the single biggest influence, certainly one of the biggest of the entire rock decade of the 1980s. Go ahead.
Um, One of the bands that also contributed to the sound is Led Zeppelin.
Led
They
Zeppelin.
had their style of heavy metal. Like if you
Right.
read Cream, which I did all through the 70s, once I learned about, they talked about Led Zeppelin 2 was a big heavy metal album. And I don't know if they had necessarily a prejudice against Black Sabbath, but like you said, it was a droid that no one even knew we were calling it heavy metal. We're
Right.
just playing this thing and you're gonna put a name on it, right?
Right. Well,
Like I saw
we also mentioned before it's that lyric from Steppenwolf, where the term
Heavy Metal Thunder.
where the term heavy metal is used. So it eventually became an actual thing. But
Well, I saw an interview. Actually, I was standing right there with Iggy Pop, and he said, "Well, you are like the godfather of punk." He goes, "Well, I started playing this style, and other people had this style, and then later on, they had a name for it."
yes, yes, and that's
And
exactly the same as heavy metal. Yeah.
and I'm going to say a little bit more, and I'm going to let Steve take over. He probably
Okay.
knows more about this.
He
So
does.
never underestimate God in this situation. So Tony Iommi was from Birmingham. It's a rough industrial city. He worked on a heavy metal, like a sheet thing, and he got his fingertips cut off.
Right.
So he's changed his style
He
to
was Black Sabbath's
yeah,
guitarist.
right. But
Okay.
and then when he was ready to give up, and then well, I'm going to digress a bit. He says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! There's this guy, this French guy or Belgian guy called Django Reinhardt, who is you. He is a shredder. Let me just tell you, he
Right.
could play anything that Eddie Van Halen. I mean, he's really, really good. And he had the same thing happen to him. And Tony Iommi was like, "Huh?" He goes, "You could still play." And some of the songs weren't sounding right, and that's when he basically invented Steve Takeover, the drop D tuning, and changed the heavier, grungier sound. Steve, it's all yours.
I don't know if he invented drop D tuning because that's
I think he
but
did.
what he did was
He didn't
they
call it drop D tuning though, right?
well drop D tuning is you're just detuning one string, the low E string. What he did was ended up detuning the guitar, all the
Thank
strings,
you.
because
Thank you.
it was easier to bend because of his fingertips, and so that helped create that really the dark sound that Black Sabbath was known for. And I think most people understand sort of their impact, but I will defy anybody. There are probably no metal bands of existence that ever had a record contract that did not cover Black Sabbath at
Right.
one point in their career. Either they recorded it and released it, or they started out as in a club band playing Sabbath covers at one point or another. Even the band that I was in, which was just a stupid college band, we played a couple of Black Sabbath covers. So they will always be one of the top two greatest bands of all time in my opinion. And I'm still nobody's shocked at what happened with Ozzy. I think
Right.
we're all surprised he lasted as long as he did, but
Yeah.
still, it's very disheartening because, again, Sabbath is behind Zeppelin, of my top two favorite bands of all time, and really was such an impact on me in the 90s, just sort of going back through and discovering a lot of the Sabbath albums that I missed out on as a kid. I mean, I grew up listening to Ozzy solo records.
Right.
Probably the second album I remember listening to or seeing the cover of was Diary of a Madman. So that came out around the
Eight,
early 80s, 82,
84, maybe.
83 or
and
84.
I
84,
just
yeah. So,
remember
yeah.
looking at that and being scared. My cousin listened to it. My cousin introduced me to metal,
On.
introduced me
80,
to
81, Diary of a
Yeah, because
Madman.
it came right after Blizzard of Oz.
yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm getting the other ones. I'm
yeah.
starting to get confused now.
So yeah, my cousin, he was a big Ozzy fan, introduced me to Quiet Riot at that time, and then as well as Ozzy, and sort of the rest was history. And it wasn't till probably the late '80s when I sort of recognized that Ozzy, who Black Sabbath was, and
Right,
what Ozzy did before
right.
Sabbath. So
Well, let me jump in real quick. The weird thing about Sabbath and AC/DC for me, now remember I'm 60, Kenny's about 2 or 3 years older than me. So I was in high school when Blizzard came out. Okay. And then Heaven and Hell came out that same year, if I'm not mistaken. So I started hearing, I'm like, whoa, what's this? But then I didn't understand. The same with the AC/DC, like Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap came out after Back in Black in the US.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah.
like, I don't understand what's happening. How can these bands have two singers? And
Right.
same thing with Duran Duran. Well, they didn't have Duran Duran. They just released their first album after Rio here in the US.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
So it was always weird. Like no one on the radio ever said, okay, now AC/DC has got a singer,
Right.
from England, right? The Bon Scott is dead, and he replaced, Brian Johnson replaced him. But they never said that. Same with Sabbath. Like they assumed you already knew. No one ever took you aside. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sabbath, what made like 7 Steve albums with Ozzy, and then they fired him, whatever it was, 7 or 8. And then
Yes.
go ahead.
No, I can't remember the specific number of albums, but
I got it
I
right
mean, the
here.
last album was called 13, which was released in
1, 2, 3.
2013, 2012, or
Oh, that's
2013.
with Ozzy though.
And that's with Ozzy. So I'm wondering, I'd have to go, I'm assuming that's the 13th record that they produced or released with
Well,
Ozzy.
in the
Makes sense.
1970s, they recorded 8 albums with Ozzy.
That sounds right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I think Sabbath's got like, I don't know, 16 albums, 1 with Ian Gillan, 3 with uh, Ronnie James
Ronnie James
Dio.
Dio.
that kind of-
Well, the third album wasn't even called Black Sabbath. It was called Heaven and Hell.
Oh, I thought they did another album after Mob Rules.
It was a
I
live
thought.
album.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
wait,
not
you're right.
arguing.
No, you're right.
Born
They did
Again. Born
late
Again.
early 90s.
Only
God,
I know that because your
Dehumanizer.
ex-wife, yeah, your ex-wife told me.
No, it's
I'm
a
like,
great-
oh, that's right.
It's a great record, Dehumanizer. It was very sort of underrated at the time that it came out, but man, that's some of their best work. Is
They
Dehumanizer. Not to take away from Ozzy, but that is a great, really underappreciated record from Sabbath.
well, Steve, I'm going to ask another question. I know that Terry Butler, Geezer Butler, that's his real name, was a very good jazz player. I think Bill Ward was too. And there's a lot of metal bands, COCs, some of the guys in that band were jazz players. And they go, well, my bank account has 42 cents because no one wants to hear jazz. I might as well play metal. At least I can make 100 grand a year. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, just like Charlie Watts. He was a big jazz guy.
Yeah.
he's,
He
oh,
was.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie,
It's fun
wow.
if you're a drummer, it's fun to play. So is
Uh,
metal is more fun to play, but that's
But the other thing is like, I know Geezer wrote the lyrics for Sabbath because like if you listen to Paranoid, I never understood. People always look at because I think I'm frowning all the time. Like I don't see, I never saw Ozzy frowning. It was Geezer Butler. He's talking about himself. That song's about him, not about Ozzy. And so, and the concepts of it were, I mean, I don't know how. Isn't that kind of weird? Like someone else wrote the lyrics and then Ozzy sang them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was a lot of God and the concept of Satan. You know, this figure pointing out at me. I'm turning around and running because I'm scared. Like, it, it's a different world of what they're singing about.
it's very unique that the bass player would write the lyrics and not the singer. I
My
mean,
point exactly.
yeah, there's nothing. I mean, it's a little bit unusual, but there's no.
There's no rules.
Wrong
It's
with
just,
it,
it's
yeah.
just funny.
I mean, in the if you listen to or read the liner notes to Ozzy solo records, what I have heard, so every song says written by Ozzy Osbourne and maybe so and so, but what I have heard is that he basically wrote the lyrics on the solo stuff, and then everybody, like Zakk Wylde, basically the deal was they were like the musicians come in and like the guitar player will come in, write the song, write the music, and then Ozzy puts the lyrics on it. But he got the credit. Ozzy would get the credit for the songwriting, which
Okay.
I've always had issues with people who contribute heavily to like an instrument part and not getting song credit because that's
Right.
I'm not
I
so
couldn't
much of
agree
a
more.
lyricist.
Yeah.
It-
So Kenny, what was your first like? Because when we were in the fraternity house, when I was there, and I was a year or two after you, but like I heard Van Halen was, Van Halen 2 was being played a lot, but I didn't hear a lot of Sabbath. But you correct me if I'm wrong in the fraternity. Like, where did you first get exposed to Sabbath?
Uh, in junior high and high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So both Paranoid and Iron Man were well known among my peers, growing up. And the later 70s stuff was probably less well known, but those songs were staples on rock radio. No, it wasn't called classic rock, it was just rock radio back in those days. But you would hear those two. And there was a couple others that they played less frequently, but Paranoid and Iron Man, everybody knew those are Black Sabbath. And everybody also knew those are top tier rock songs.
yeah.
But
I'm
like
sure
we never
in the
heard.
gym they always would play in high school. We always played Iron Man in the gym while we were lifting. So it was
Yeah.
well known.
Good.
I just got to say, when I was a kid, so my dad had the Paranoid record. And so for the longest time, this is when I'm like 8, 9 years old, I would see the record and I'm like, it's just unusual. And I never listened to it. I was either a little scared or just thought, this is the weirdest thing. And I didn't know who Sabbath was. And again, like when I was a kid, I discovered Ozzy, but then it wasn't later till I was probably like 12 years old where I sort of put the two together and then started discovering uh, Sabbath. And it really was the Faith No More um, record that they released in 1989, The Real Thing, which they covered um,
Pigs.
War Pigs. And I
Okay.
remember listening to it. I was like, this song is awesome. And both my mom and dad were like, this is a Black Sabbath song.
Right.
And I just thought it was strange because both my mom and my dad, well, my dad had the record, but it was just, you don't expect your mom and dad to.
Right.
If your mom would have said that, I would have laughed my ass off because your mom's funny. Like his mom is very dry with things she says, so that would have been really funny to hear your mom.
Yeah, it's just funny. They're like, this is Black Sabbath. And I'm like, I've never really listened to him. So I'm like, I know dad
Yeah.
had the record. So then
But
that's when I went back and discovered him.
but
So
anytime,
All right.
anytime you discover completely unaware and you discover some song that you really like, whatever, and that's a cover, and you go, what?
yes.
It's always shocking.
But for me as a kid, it was great. Like this is how I discovered Zeppelin. Was I heard some songs, on the radio and at the gym, and then I went and got like the complete studio collection. And so for me, it was a very same experience with Sabbath. When I discovered all their sort of records, it was all at once. And so, it was like information overload, just being able to listen
Sure.
to all these great
Yeah.
songs, you know, one after another. So,
I was trying to tell you about Star Wars. Kenny and I saw Star Wars 3 years later, whatever it was,
Right.
Empire. 3 or
Yeah.
4 years later, Return of the Jedi. So,
Jedi.
yeah, the same thing with now, Kenny. The only album I had of Zeppelin was was Into the Outdoor. All those other ones were out before I discovered them.
Right.
Right, 1977. But Steve, here's a funny thing. Kenny, tell me how you first. I want to heard about Ozzy biting the head off the bat. How did you?
Um, I I can't say for sure. I know that when he released his first album in 1980, there was a number of headbangers in the fraternity at Auburn.
Yeah.
So there were guys in the fraternity playing Ozzy's records. So I was hearing the music. I didn't have it myself, but I was hearing the music regularly. I don't recall exactly when I heard that, but it was sometime within that first couple of years after he had made his first album. And then, when you hear that kind of thing, you don't know. He looks nutty enough and crazy enough to do it, and at the same time, it would be a great urban legend because it's just fitting, even if he never did it. So I never knew what to
When I first
believe
heard it,
about
I thought it was the kids get ready to laugh. I thought it was the Love Roller Coaster thing part 2.
Right.
I was like, this is a bunch of bull crap. I don't believe it. But the guy on the radio, like I was Paul Casanova, remember that guy WSHE, or one of those other guys? They were funny. They were like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. And people would call it and curse him out. He goes, no, he really did this. And finally, remember, it got to a point where they had to have somebody from the record label get on TV and said, yeah, he did it.
Right.
Well, there's a story behind that too.
But
So,
hold on, how did you first hear about it, Steve?
oh, I was kind of like an urban legend.
Was you were
For
in high
me.
school and someone said, hey, did you hear that Ozzy bit the head off a bat?
Well, it's probably in the 80s when it happened. So it was probably, growing up,
1980.
you just hear these stories. But there's a interview with Ozzy where he didn't know, where he talks about it. And he's like, I thought it was people were throwing like stuffed animals and things on stages where he thought it was like a stuffed, like a rubber bat. So he was just messing around. It wasn't until he actually bit into it that he
Oh my
realized that it
God.
was was a dead bat, I guess.
Right.
But, so it
Oh
wasn't
my
like he
God.
did it intentionally.
Right. It
That's what
wasn't
he
like
says
he had.
now. I don't know. I still don't know if I believe that. But
I
Yeah.
just remember, so I attribute a lot of this to my cousin who taught me to play guitar. And when he gave me two records, Quiet Riot, Metal Health, and then Blizzard of Oz. And well, he gave me the record, or he gave me the cassettes actually. But I remember putting in Crazy Train, and I went, "What the heck is this? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life." I
yeah,
was 8 years old or whatever at the time, so
no,
6 years
still
old,
is. Yeah.
and
In
just
1980, it was just stunning to
It was
hear.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
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 So
How they play it at nursing homes now.
I was introduced to it probably about 1983, but so if you can imagine a 6 year old just listening to Metal Health and Crazy Train, but
Yeah.
I was just, and from that moment, that's when I got introduced to heavy metal, and the rest is sort of history. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's I'm still depressed over it, but
Yeah.
what it is. Paul, I'm
Well,
just
Ozzy's
fortunate
what?
that Paul and I got to see Sabbath on their
Uh,
farewell tour, and we got the VIP tickets, and we were right at center stage. I think we were in the 10th row.
And what
And
sounds right.
Dio? Who was singing?
no, it was
No, Ozzy.
Ozzy. It
Oh,
was
okay. Okay.
it
All
was
right.
Dio
actually it
died
was
like in
this tour.
2010.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I saw Dio too on that Heaven and Hell tour.
Okay.
But I'm just so thankful, and I'm glad I got to experience it with somebody. Most of the 99% of all the concerts I've ever been to, I've gone to by myself. But just having that experience and getting experience with Paul, um,
Yeah, it
it's
was
just
cool.
that was a lifelong that's a memory that I'll cherish forever. And
Right.
yeah, it was
That's
really,
good.
it
The
was
sad
really
part
cool.
is we talked about it a little bit, maybe on another show. They gave out these publicity books, which I still have, and this was back when they were still fighting. So Bill Ward, the drummer, is not in any. This book is this thick, and he's not in any photos. You could tell he's been. It's not even a really good job of cropping him out. Like they just cut off his ear. Like someone did this in her. It's like
But why?
really because he was in a pissing match with what's her name, Sharon Osbourne.
Well,
Oh.
I will say this, Paul. I heard that he had played. I didn't see it, but I heard that Bill Ward was at the farewell concert back in July or 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
If you go on Black Sabbath, the website to this day, actually, no, there is a picture of Bill Ward, but a lot of them are. You're right. They I don't know what happened. I don't know who owns Sabbath.
no, she does. Sharon Osbourne does.
Well, it's funny because they fired him from the band in the early 80s. So I don't know how and when then like sort of the rights got.
Oh, I'll tell you how. Tony Iommi got in jail for something. I can't remember what it was, and Sharon Osbourne came to bail him out, and he needed like $300,000, some ridiculous. And he goes, "Just give me the rights to the band. I'll give you $500,000." He goes, "Okay," and that's how he got out of jail.
Huh.
That's how he had a gun to his head, but
Well, it's interesting because in 2000, Tony Iommi released a solo record. And the reason he did that was, well, actually, he released one in 2000, but then released one in the mid 80s, around 87. And they released that because it was, the record contract
yeah.
he had to release another Sabbath album. And that was sort of how they got around that. So, by fulfilling the record contract by having him release one of the studio albums. And it's pretty good. I can't remember who the singer on that is. I'll have to look it up because it's my memory is fading fast. But
We can
Yeah,
relate.
tell me about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Hey guys, we got the warning. We still have a few minutes, but let's just do a let's just go around the circle a few times. And if you've got a song, an Ozzy song that you've got a particular memory or a particular story or something like that that goes with it, or if you've just got a standout track that for some reason resonates with you or whatever, and let's just do that because
okay.
to me, no better way to pay tribute to the guy.
I think it's on the one where they're all facing the same. I can't remember now. It's called Junior's Eyes.
yep,
I think it's Black Sabbath's top 5 song.
Is it a Black
The
Sabbath
problem
song
with
or an Ozzy song?
Sabbath.
It's Black Sabbath with Ozzy singing.
Okay,
I think it's either on Technical Ecstasy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So the problem is that album. This is Steve and I've gotten a huge fun arguments. That album was recorded by a monkey, and it's at 1/3 the level, so you can barely hear it at the gym. I have to turn it up way, way, way loud.
Okay,
And
got
it's
to
like
interrupt real quick. Tell me the name of the song again.
Junior's Eyes. It's about
Okay,
his
so
dad.
I pulled up Technical Ecstasy, and it
It's
is
not
not
on
on
that.
here.
It is
What's
on
the
the
other one?
album that came out after that, which was
Never Say Die.
I think
Yes, that's
yeah.
it. It's like the track number
There it
7
is.
or 8.
Third song, Junior's
Oh,
Eyes.
third song.
Okay.
It's really, really, really good, and the drumming is fantastic. I just love it, and it's about his dad. Like,
Okay.
you ever hear him talk about his dad? It's like the way you and I and Steve talk about his. He worshipped his father.
Oh,
Like he
cool. Okay.
worshipped him. Like he said,
Okay.
one week he took all of his money and bought Ozzy a PA mic and a little amp. And he goes, "We didn't go. We didn't eat for a week. Oz died. He gave his whole paycheck. And he started crying because that's how much his dad believed. Matter of fact, when I got to sing, you guys know I got to sing with the Darkness. I got to go on the stage and
Right.
sing with them at a concert.
Right.
And Dan Hawkins said their dad did the same thing. They were missing equipment. And they wanted to go on tour, and his dad mortgaged everything he had to buy them a Marshall stack for him and his brother. And you could both see they weren't looking at each other. And if they did, they would have started crying. But it's like their dad, just like Ozzy, their dad finally believed in what they were doing.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Go ahead, guys.
I will say this isn't my pick, but this song "Air Dance" off of Never Say Die, that is probably the most underrated Sabbath guitar riff of all time.
I
So
love that
check it
album.
out.
The whole album. I love it.
All right. So my pick, this is probably my favorite solo Ozzy. It's definitely my favorite solo or Ozzy record, which would be Osmosis. But if I had to pick one track from there, it would be "See You on the Other Side."
It's like what, 95 or
95.
96? Okay. All right.
1995.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a very underrated album, but I loved I can't remember who produced it, but the production sound on that entire record is my favorite.
Is that
by
Jakey
far.
Lee on that one?
No, it's Zach Wild.
On 95, I didn't realize. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
He
Yeah.
was not supposed to be playing on that record, and I can't remember what happened, but somehow he came in at the last minute to record on it, and thank God he did. It's awesome. I don't think there's a bad song on that entire record. So no filler, at least for me. But "See You on the Other Side," it's got a great sort of bass groove to it, and as somebody who doesn't really care for lyrics, I mean, it's more of a if Ozzy has a ballad, this is closer to it to the side. But
Well, he had No More Tears with Lita Ford, No More Tears.
That wasn't No More Tears.
that wasn't No More Tears though.
What it was
Close
called
My
No More
Eyes
Fears.
Forever or something like that.
That's his only ballad.
Yeah.
But this
He
is a
said No More
slower song.
Beers.
But the keyboard and synth on it is great, and Zach always plays a fantastic solo, and so
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And
All right,
again,
Kenny.
lyrics are great. So
Okay, so here's my little Ozzy story. I think it's a good one. So it's hard to even imagine this, but back in the 1980s, MTV actually played rock videos. Okay,
Yes, it did.
that's how they started. I don't know how they fell so far away from that, but
Oh,
they
I know
played
how. Another show.
videos by rock bands back in those days. And it was not unusual for me and lots of people I knew to leave the TV on MTV 24/7. You never shut it off. Just like leaving the radio on, except you left that on. And because being able to see it and hear it was an added dimension. So MTV was constantly playing in my house. And by 1986, Ozzy was well established as a rocker, as a heavy metal guy, and his success of his previous albums was top of the line. People were buying his records. He had songs all over rock radio. So anyway, I'm in the kitchen. I've got the TV on in the living room, but I'm in the kitchen fixing something to eat, and the volume is up kind of loud. So when this intro comes on, and by the way, I should add, and I think you guys will agree, Ozzy songs have very distinct intros. Like from almost the first note, you go up. I know what song that is. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in the kitchen fixing something to eat. The TV's on there, and I suddenly hear this intro, and it's a song I don't recognize, and I haven't heard it before. And within seconds, I go, okay, I don't know who this is, but this song is awesome. So I then walk into the living room just to see, and it's Shot in the Dark by Ozzy. Okay. And let me tell you something. And that song, at least for the next few months or whatever, was huge. So it's such a wonderful memory to the first time hearing it and to recognize within seconds, this is larger than life. This is a great rock song. And then for it to be Ozzy. So,
Yeah, I think that's changing
right?
me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good record, very underrated, but yeah, that's a tremendous song.
Yeah, what you suggested about Rick Derringer, Kenny, I got to go back and listen to all the Ozzy solo albums again. That's just probably what I need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Listen to don't buy you sleep on the 90s stuff and even the early 2000s. It's very underrated material.
Okay.
I got in an argument one day with a guy at work who was like, "Oh, Blizzard of Oz is his best album." Like, that's the easy choice, but
Right. It is. You're right. Okay, well, we're down to about a minute, so let me just throw this out real quick. What is that noise?
Well, you may want to go on mute.
I got a show.
Yeah, let me just throw this out real quick because we were talking a little earlier about jazzy stuff, and I forgot how we got it on it, Tony Iommi or something, but the title track from Diary of a Madman, which is the final track on the album, I think it's phenomenal. You don't oftentimes think of heavy metal songs as being art. It's a work of art or whatever. This song is a work of art because he not only combines the jazz stuff, but it still rocks also. And it just blows me away. I just think it's one of his greatest tracks. Not necessarily what you're going to hear on classic rock, but it's a phenomenal song.
Yep. Except for Osmosis, that's my favorite Ozzy song. It's classic. It's classical, and it even kind of has a waltzy jazz.
It does.
Well, remember that was
Randy Rhoads.
Almighty, his background. Randy Rhoads' background. He was classical.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had lots of influences.
Yes. And that song he just does it with full glory. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yep.